Hello again, Mr. Sutherland here, and today I want to talk about a video that's a little bit on the older side, but still I think is kind of relevant considering everybody's still talking about gun control stuff. And this video actually came out a few days prior to the March for Our Lives event. And right off the bat, I want to say that something about this series has irked me just a little bit. It's not necessarily the fact that this Mr. Jordan guy looks like a millennial and rapier version of Mr. Rogers, or Anna Gasteyer's terrible song. I think it's just the fact that at the time of making this video, the subscriber count is only at 600 something, and this Jordan guy has somehow managed to get, not huge I would say, but fairly sizable names for his show. Do you ever get that feeling that someone maybe sold their soul to someone else for something they didn't necessarily deserve? I don't mean they sold their soul to Satan, because that'd be a little bit too high class and rich for their blood, but they sold it to somebody, and it was somebody who knew how to pull some strings, and I just had that vibe. I don't know how to explain it exactly besides that, but let's get into the video now.
When you can't make sense of the world today,
ask Mr. Jordan to show you the way.
On the birds and the BS.
Also, this show in the description says that it's the kids show for adults. I don't think adults should be watching stuff like this, and if they do, they have a very emotionally unsound mentality, I think.
Morning everyone, and welcome to the Birds and the BS, where we encourage you to actually take the advice you give your children. Today's letter comes from Allie in Alabama. Dear Mr. Jordan, my son is always playing with his gum and spitting it on the floor, so I've made a no gum in the house rule. My daughter says she always uses her gum responsibly, so it's still her right to chew. Should I let my daughter keep her gum? Allie, let me use an analogy to help with this one. Imagine for a moment that I am surrounded by people who play with their gun. With these people spitting bullets all over, would my mother still let me keep my gun?
Okay, so this show is trying to have an analogy between children in their mother's house who are chewing gum. One kid is being a little asshole, the other one isn't. And so that other one is just like, how come I can't chew gum and I'm being punished for this guy's transgressions? And it's trying to draw a comparison between the government saying that the government is our mother and we are its child. And the gum is obviously the big hot button issue, the gun. Effectively saying that our government is the one who is supposed to look after us and we are their children. Besides the fact that you insult our intelligence by acting like you're bringing up something else that's not gun control when that's all you're really doing in the end. The idea that the government is supposed to be our caretaker and someone that we actually depend on, especially in America where we should essentially have the government by its taint. Saying that we are dependent on the government like a child to its mother is laughable at best and at worst is an extremely dystopian worldview. And I fear it. Jordan asks this question, if people were spitting bullets all over, would my mother let me keep my gun? The answer to that should be yes, because your mother, and I do mean your mom, the one who shat you out of her womb, not this weird analogy that you've come up with for the government, wouldn't want you to be defenseless and would at least want you to be able to come back alive and pop shots if not.
Here to answer that question is my favorite mother from live musicals on TV, Anna Gasteyer.
Thank you for having me, Jordan. Sit up straight. You look like Shikard Quasimodo.
If I were using my gun the right way, but others weren't, would you still let me keep mine?
Of course not.
Well then, Anna, you're clearly an idiot, and leaving Jordan to die here, even though that's something he's seemingly okay with what he's advocating, and leaving him defenseless.
But I didn't do anything wrong.
It's a fair point you make. This was not your mistake. I'm a law-abiding son. Why take away my gun?
Ugh, okay, this singing, I forgot about this. Okay, well, you raise a good point. I have done nothing wrong. Why do you need to take away my guns? Just why? I mean, what would that help at all? When's the last time an NRA member caused a mass shooting? Please tell me. The second it happens, I'm pretty sure me and every other member in the NRA will be like, yeah, no, we're casting this one out to the wolves. You guys do what you need to do to it.
But as a mother in charge of your fun, the acts of another can ruin it for everyone.
You are not the mother of everyone, though. Are you, Anna? Or the US government, for that matter, is not our mother.
Because, as you always say...
This is why we can't have nice assault weapons.
Assault weapons, as I have said in the last video, are not a thing. Not every weapon is a gun. In trying to act as though assault weapons are a thing, when they aren't even very well defined, or defined at all in most cases, is bullshit on all fronts.
Or you know what? Guns of any kind.
At least you're upfront and honest about your advocacy for banning all guns and repealing the Second Amendment. Just like I'm going to be honest and upfront about telling you you can go fuck yourself and you can pry my guns from my cold dead hands.
When it comes to our kids, it's time for us to step in instead of think and pray for peace of mind.
Yeah, let's just shit on thoughts and prayers, because it's not like there are people who actually do genuinely want to help, but for some reason or another are either physically incapable of helping because of any number of reasons. Maybe they're not in the same state, maybe they don't have pull in the government, maybe they don't know where to start, maybe they have ideas but you're just not a fan of them because they involve more guns, or maybe they just acknowledge crazy people happen. It's something you can't avoid, and the best thing they can do is offer sympathy and condolences to the family. And the way you shit on it makes me think you wouldn't do the same for an NRA spokesperson if their whole family was killed tomorrow. Also, the subtle use of, but think of the children, when trying to say that we need to think about safety. Stop it. I am thinking of the children. I'm thinking that if guns go away, more children die.
Government says sacrifices sometimes should be made in the name of the greater good.
The government doesn't own me. I own it. That is the way that we are set up as a country. That is the way we as a country were founded. And the Second Amendment was put in place by the Founding Fathers because they knew that power corrupts, and they wanted us, the citizens, the people, to have a defense against that and a failsafe to make sure that we kept the government in check. And if the government is trying to tell me that I need to think about the greater good, then I'm going to cock my shotgun back at them in response. The government has no right to tell me what's in the greater good. I don't care what it has to say. It should care what I have to say. Because if it doesn't, myself and millions of other Americans will take up arms and say, you did a thing we voted against. You fucked up. And this using of the greater good argument in any situation is a horrible route to take that basically makes everything mob rule. I'm lifting something from the YouTuber Hoodie Demon, but let's assume that there are a bunch of rapists on an island. They outnumber defenseless women massively, and the rapists all decide that it is within the greater good that they do what they want with these women, because they outnumber them. Because they outnumber them, it is for the greater good that all these women get raped, because it'll make the rapists feel better. It's the greater good after all, can't argue with that, right? Obviously I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but I had to go with an extreme to illustrate why this is a dumb argument.
Someone tainted Tylenol, they fixed the flaw. There was one shoe bomb, and they changed the law.
A product recall and reissue and taking your shoes off for the TSA are not the same thing as repealing a human right.
And when guns kill kids, that's the final
Second Amendment.
That's exactly what they always do. They shoot us down by invoking the Second Amendment.
Yeah, we shoot you down, no pun intended, because we recognize that it's not right to judge the masses for the transgressions and sins of a few. Hashtag not all, right? And implying that we do that is totalitarian as hell. I mean, the next logical step beyond that would be to have something like Camp 22, where not only are you punished, but the next 2 generations of your family are punished. And by repealing a human right, such as the Second Amendment, you would be doing that.
Don't they understand how much there is to lose?
Yeah, we understand how much there is to lose, which is why we have guns to defend our family, our friends, our country, and our freedoms.
There are lives at stake, and don't forget whose.
The gun-toting individuals, they know whose lives are at stake. This is the entire reason that they bought guns. And they bought those guns because they care about their family, something you clearly don't, and are willing to defend them. And they understand what's at stake if they can't do that. Gotta say, this is a pretty shitty card to play. Which is why when I have a child, or if I see any child in my life that is in danger, or any child in general, I will use whatever means are necessary to make sure that they are kept safe. I will use bullets, I will use knives, I will use my bare hands to defend them. I will get ravenous if I need to. I don't care. If anyone endangers the children in my life, or anyone in my life for that matter, I will do everything in my power to defend them. Me, not you. Because ultimately, it's going to be me that has to keep them safe.
Nothing's more important than the safety of a child, so time to take your guns and the rhetoric you stockpiled.
By rhetoric, I'm sure you mean the facts and statistics that say that guns are actually better and safer for society to have around, and that gun control is actually detrimental, as evidenced by the number of mass shootings we have in states like California, which have some of the best gun control laws, or the number of shootings that we have in Chicago, which is pretty much the murder capital of the United States of America.
Whoa, that's pretty radical. Most of us are against assault weapons, but even we liberals can't go after the Second Amendment itself.
Why not?
I mean, we just don't. It's always, look, we're not saying we're coming for your guns.
Actually, now we are.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you don't do that because you know it would be a bloodbath that you could not win.
This is why we can't have compromise.
The fact that you would think it's the NRA member in this scenario that wouldn't be willing to build bridges and actually be belligerent to the other side is extremely telling of your worldview, because every gun owner I've ever seen is more receptive to hearing the other side out and explaining to them why they don't agree, or even showing a person why guns are a good thing in our society. And this little cartoon showing the NRA person pulling a gun on that other person tells me how insulated you are and disconnected from reality.
I understand you think that hunting's neat, but sometimes our pastimes jeopardize our lives, which matter more than your precious skeet.
Good thing the Second Amendment isn't about fucking hunting or target shooting. It's about not being oppressed by tyranny. Why is that so hard to understand?
I understand you really had a ball. Then one lone wolf went and ruined it all. And by one, I mean 96 deaths a day.
Where's your source for this? I see that little asterisk that you put up there, and I don't see any sources for it in the description. So I'm led to believe that this is complete bullshit, because you can't substantiate it or at least leave a link to an article or something. Like, even if you had said something in the video, I probably would have gone on that and be like, okay, I'll search it up and look around. But no, there's nothing in the description to back this statistic up. So I have to say, fuck you.
So even though there are a lot of people who use guns responsibly, the fun we get to have with them isn't worth the destruction they cause?
Exactly.
Nope, that's still a bullshit argument that goes back to persecuting the masses for the sins of a few. Next, please.
You know, there's a lot of things we do that with.
Like lawn darts,
Uh-huh.
Sudafed, and adopted animals are harder to get than a gun because of the actions of a few.
But those aren't human rights, and I can't make an AK-47 into meth. So this argument is shitty as well.
Exactly.
But what about safety? And guns for protection?
Allow me to issue a logic correction. A gun beneath your pillow makes you feel secure. Till you think your granny's a burglar, then it loses its allure. They say a good guy with a gun could stop a bad guy with a gun.
But neither has to die if neither one has one.
Oh yeah, I forgot that criminals are so receptive to being law-abiding citizens. Yep. Totally forgot that.
I only wonder how these men will find their sense of self-worth and masculinity without their pew-pew.
Who you are as a man isn't found in your gun.
Okay, I'm not gonna act like that there aren't guys whose sole purpose for owning guns is just as a way to compensate for what little God gave them between the legs. I'm not one of these people. I'm generally pretty happy with everything God gave me. But this idea that the only reason someone could own a gun is just to hunt, just to target shoot, and it's also a means by which you can project your masculinity is honestly, unironically, kind of fucking sexist. What about all kinds of women who enjoy guns, or all kinds of women who are in a bad part of town because life kind of sucks, you're not always going to afford the best, and they have to buy a gun to keep themselves safe? I mean, sorry, but on average, women are physically weaker than men. And I don't care how big of a rapist you are or a murderer or anything. You could be a 7'7" brick shithouse, but a woman who is 5 foot nothing, weighing 90 pounds sopping wet, carrying a 380 in her own home, is at more advantage than that guy, because he will die if he tries to approach her. Because no matter how tough and intent you are on raping someone, it kind of fucks up your whole vibe if you have a bullet hole in your chest. So this whole, oh, their poor masculinity, fuck off. It's pragmatism, not vanity.
And who we are as a country should be safe for everyone.
Those who would sacrifice freedom for safety deserve neither. Benjamin Franklin. That is what this country was founded on. That is what continues to run this country. That is what will always run this country. And that is the spirit of America. Stop it.
Australians stayed butch after their overhaul.
So if you're a macho prick, you can stay one after all.
Now, I'll go ahead and be American. Australia can have its little shitty prison colony where there's no guns apparently. Oh wait, no, there was a mass shooting like 5 days ago. Oops. I thought they got rid of guns.
Take us home!
This is why we can't have Rambo teachers.
If a teacher is a military veteran, or a former police officer, or someone who is otherwise comfortable getting themselves qualified to use a firearm to defend their students, why don't we let them? Why don't we give them that choice to do it and say, hey, if you want to do this, We will provide you the training and we will allow you to do what you see fit. And if you aren't comfortable with this, that's fine. We don't want to put any more pressure on you than you need. Why can't that be an option? Someone explain to me a good reason why not.
This is why we can't have dummy leaders.
Okay, you got your shot in at Trump. Good for you.
This is why we can't have not nice things. And when the government needs to be overthrown, get your ass out and vote, cause we can't do this alone.
Oh my God. Okay, listen. The Second Amendment is your best defense against a government going tyrannical. Because if a government needs to be overthrown, votes don't count for shit. They don't care about you. Fuck the ballot box, get the bullet box. And grab an AR-15 or any other weapon you can and overthrow the government like it deserves to be.
That's all for today, folks. Allie, tell your daughter she can play with her bazooka gum all she wants, as long as she joins the March for Our Lives. And join us next time when we'll send our thoughts and prayers that Marco Rubio wakes up to find his balls between his legs instead of his gun.
Fuck you. Fuck your march. And fuck your constant equation of guns with masculinity when it's really pragmatism for most people.
Till then,
This is why we can't have the Electoral College.
I bet you wouldn't have complained if this was 2012. So fuck off even more. I know I'm just kind of getting started on this little stint where I'm talking about these kinds of videos off a different channel, but I can already tell it's going to be a long road ahead. So I hope you all have a good day. I'm Mr. Sutherland.